Hello, hello, hello. This is Carla Michelle, and I am so glad that you pushed that play button for the Strong Women's Network podcast. This is another great day with another great guest. I have with me Brittany King-Pleas, and I'll tell you that she is a dynamic woman. But before we go ahead and have Brittany speak, go ahead and subscribe to the Strong Women's Network podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. I'm also on Instagram at Miss Carla Michelle. That's MSCARLA MICHELLE. And follow me there, and you'll get some inspiration, motivation, and the truth. All right, so I have with me Brittany. She is the founder of the Woman of SoCal, and she has been doing this for almost 3 years now, which is amazing. In December, she will be celebrating 3 years. And it all started with lunch or coffee dates with 13 inspiring women. And from there, she created a platform that they are able to create lives that they love, that are full of freedom and liberty, and follow their dreams. And I tell you, this is much needed to have those avenues where we could come together as women and be encouraged and be enlightened and feel loved and surrounded. So let's welcome Brittany to the podcast. Hey, Brittany, how
Hey,
are
how
you?
are you? Dr.
I'm good. I'm
Carl?
in the house. No. Oh, yes. It's so good to have you. It's so
Thank
good.
you for
So,
having me.
oh,
Yeah.
yes. So I know you,
Yes.
and which is a privilege and an honor. Can you
Thank
tell
you.
our listeners a little bit about yourself? A
Yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am born and raised in Long Beach. I have just been, ever since I was, younger, always really concerned with just finding different ways of supporting people. So,
Mm.
growing up, I always found something to be involved in, some way to give back. So I've been sharing that I started something called the Christian Women's. It was called the Christian Caring Women, and that was
Mm.
my first nonprofit when I was younger with my mom and granny. And I said I really think it's important for people that are in convalescent homes to have some visitors, to have plants, that. And so I started raising money for that when I was maybe 9 or 10. So
Wow.
I've always had that mission to find ways to give back. And so, kind of fast forward to the present, I've gone to school for social work. I worked in social services for my 9 to 5, my regular job, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
But in the last few years, just this Women of SoCal thing just kind of happened. I mean, people, how do you get started with a business? Well, I really wasn't a business to start. It was really just a passion project, and something that I realized that I know so many people. However, you don't always know their stories. You know where they come from, some of the things that they had to endure to be where they are. So I wanted to first start for that, and then it sort of has blossomed into many other opportunities to connect people. A lot of people say I'm a connector. You ask me, where can I find this at? I'm like, oh, someone, so that's been a lot of my role. And so behind the scenes, always available, different women who are just not really sure what they want to do. They know that they're meant for more, and just being able to provide a hub for that conversation, um, for that opportunity, for that inspiration, kind of a conglomerate, a smorgasbord for all of those.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's like a
Awesome.
short, very short synopsis about me. Yeah.
Especially starting at 9 years old, being a visionary and
Hmm.
meeting a need in the people that you saw. So, what a heart. That says a lot about you and what makes you tick. So, kudos.
Thank
Kudos.
you.
Yeah. I don't know. At 9 years old, I think I was just outside playing hopscotch and skipping and jump rope, and you have to meet, helping people. Yeah, I don't know. I love it. And great. That speaks a lot, like I said, just to your focus. And this podcast is about, strategic and being talented and resilient, optimistic, necessary, and then going global with it, even if it's your world
Mm-hmm.
and not the whole world. And you started young, and then now with Women of SoCal, you're doing that. And that is so encouraging. How do you keep yourself to where you can keep giving at this
Mm-hmm.
level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I, in the last couple of years, self-care is kind of a buzzword. A lot of people talk about it, but I've really been exploring what that looks like for me. And, you don't always meet the mark. Most of this, you don't always meet the mark with filling your cup, but definitely just being curious to explore what I can do. So I've gotten into meditation. That's been my primary way of kind of disconnecting and just starting each new day knowing that I have an opportunity, whether I started off with the meditation or not, taking that time for myself, even for a few moments. So just finding different ways to fit it in and being graceful towards myself when I don't meet the mark. That's like
Mm.
probably 80% of it is giving myself that grace when I didn't do, my morning routine. Or so, and then I mean, I've also been, that's how we've connected, through doing personal growth classes and being involved in communities like that, build in
Mhm.
accountability and give you so many tools to just try on for size and figure out what works for you. So that's definitely important to me.
Yeah, I love how
Yeah.
you said being graceful towards yourself. I call it being kind. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we're not graceful to ourselves, I mean, that is the hardest thing to overcome and can really mess up our day or our week or our month or our life,
Mm-hmm.
because we're
Mm-hmm.
so hard on ourselves. Any tips for people, and not to put you on the spot, hopefully, any tips are off the top of your head? Is like, how do we just continue to be graceful towards ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've started, one thing that works for me that's tangible is either thinking it's better to write. I mean, I always find it better to write. So writing out your wins for the day or things that you've accomplished and reflecting on that. I heard a really good meditation yesterday that was, when you focus on the things you haven't accomplished, it only creates more things you haven't accomplished. So, what
Whoa.
we focus on is what's going to grow. So it's only going to create more things. And so once
Yeah.
we flip that and focus on, wow, like I reached out to this person. Especially right now with the pandemic, with, so much of this political conversations and the voting and I mean, just so much, just being like, it could be, I got out of bed this morning, I brushed my, hopefully you brush your teeth every day, but it's, I
Yeah.
washed my face, I did my regimen, whatever that looks like for you, just checking some things off your list, or adding things that you have done on your list that maybe weren't, that it can work wonders for your self-esteem. So that's a
Hmm.
tip that I do. I don't always write it, but just even reflecting on it at the end of the day.
I love
And then
that.
also just knowing, I think what I realize is realizing you're not the center of the universe. You're not the only person going through these things. So once I take myself out of the equation, then if I just did those two
Mhm.
things on my list for the day, then, and I kind of relaxed for half the day, it's like that's exactly what I needed.
Mm.
So that's more of a mindset tip, but it's those two things together for sure. And then as far as being graceful and kind towards yourself, um, I feel like so much of it is mindset. It's really hard to break it down tangibly.
Hmm.
But I mean, even before this podcast, I love music. So if I need a quick pump up song just to dance and move my body or stretch, like that kind of gets me out of my head and focusing on things that kind of ruminating,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that could be very helpful for, that's me, I love music and feel like it's very therapeutic. Yeah, that's just a few things.
Yeah, those are great. So, I mean, really, celebrate the wins for the day.
Yes.
Really, if you can't write them, at least reflect on them. Just take a moment, wherever that moment could be. If for some of us who are still driving to and fro from work or wherever, it doesn't even have to be work, just out, take that time, or when you wake before you go to bed, even during a commercial break, if you can't turn off the TV,
Mm-hmm.
something where you're just quiet during your shower. That's great. And then mindset, you're right. That's so important. Our thoughts rule us. So if you're okay with the little that you got done, truly be okay with the little, what we won't
Mm-hmm.
even call it little, no, we will say
Mm-hmm.
with what you got done, because that's what was needed in the day. And go ahead and be graceful towards yourself, and knowing, hey, you may get the energy a little later on, you might wake up earlier and do it, or maybe it just really doesn't need to be done, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
someone will come in and help you out. So that's a good one. And I
And
love the music. Go ahead.
yeah, I thought of one more thing. So I don't
Sure.
realize I'm doing it, but discipline is one of those things. Is kind of a scary word, you know. Um, However, it can be very useful in getting yourself on track, or giving yourself that grace. So I just like I call it resetting the day. So for me, that's like doing my face care routine. So if I feel a little out of sorts and I just want to feel more like myself, you know, I'll just go and like get my toner, get my cleanser, my face mask, or that discipline could look like um, doing my makeup and being creative, and so just that
Mm.
creativity. And I mean, really, it's about having fun. So, I mean, most of the things that I've created in my life have come when I was not focused on it. You know, so that gracefulness, it's like, what do I want to do, or what do in this moment am I holding myself back from? So that could be having a glass of water, or having a drink, or preparing a
Mm-hmm.
meal, or getting outside, or just like asking yourself that question, like, what do I need? What is my body asking for me? And like doing that thing, it propels like that forward motion. So being more in tune with what's going on internally, and can kind of create that forward move. It doesn't have to be big. It's just a very uh, it's being graceful towards your needs. um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a
I love
lot.
it. But you know what? No, but it's good because I posted the other day, trust your gut, and
Mm,
and people
I
really
saw
think,
that.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you think, but you made me you expanded in my mind that meaning, because usually we say we trust our gut when we're about to make maybe a decision, or there's someone around us, a person around us. Should we trust them or not? Trust your gut. But do we ever think about trusting our gut when it says to go get that glass of water, when it is, our bodies, our intuition is saying, hey, you need some rest,
Mhm.
or go and celebrate something, or go and have a good time, or
Mhm.
go meet some friends? That's also trusting your gut, right? And I think you had just expanded it beyond just how we usually take trusting your gut. It's also trusting yourself, that you're able to give the right prescription for the need at that moment. And
Mhm.
that's listening. If it is, go get yourself that drink.
Mhm. Yeah, like,
you know,
like a White Claw. I mean, or whiskey on the
yeah.
rocks. I mean,
Mix it,
however that looks for you.
whatever, CBD tea, whatever
Yeah,
it is, just, but that's, and I think a lot of us feel guilty for
Mhm.
listening to that
Mhm.
gut, that intuition talking to us, or even
Mhm.
that graceful part of ourselves. And for the guys who are listening, that time when they're being told, and I don't know if they want to call it graceful towards themselves, but
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe guys know how to relax more than women.
It's
And
possible.
I think because they'll go put on a game and they will check out and they will be totally into the game. Where if we're watching the game, but we're thinking about this, that, or we're cooking, or we're,
Mhm.
it's so much going on. So, but for our men who are listening, yes, be graceful towards yourself and listen to when you need to take a break and stop worrying about all the provisions and all the things that you have
Mm-hmm.
to do, and to check in and find out what works for you. And if it is that music, play that music and enjoy it. That's what I hear you saying, Brittany.
Absolutely.
So let's talk
Oh
about
yes, play that
let's
music.
play
Fantastic.
that music. Yeah. Let's talk about personal development. What has been how has that been beneficial for you investing in yourself?
Well, I honestly feel like it's necessary. And I mean, my first experience, I just kind of followed the call. I mean, I it's a little bit of a story, if I may.
Please.
So, and I've disclosed this on social media, but so back 15, I actually got a DUI. And so I was in school at the time getting my social work, my master's in social work, and we had internship. So your internship is contingent, on different background things, or if you have a car or not, or they factor all of that into it. And this was my first internship, so it turned out I was eligible for many of the opportunities with that on my record. So as a result, I had to go to a different internship that I would not have had, and I met someone named Robin who was a part of Benchmark. So she knew my aunt; they actually worked together, and I met her, and she was really excited to have me. Um, and not everyone really, of course, people don't judge you based on that. They can, but that was kind of a learning lesson for me that it doesn't matter your background; it's really how you come from that situation. And so she just nudged me in the direction of Benchmark, and I had no idea how I was going to pay for it, which is the personal development course that we've both done. And I had my bags packed Wednesday, and with no clue how I was really going to pay for it and to actually go. But I was committed. I had the intention set, which I didn't really know the language for it. And then she told me, within the next couple of days or the next day, she said, "Oh, there's a ticket. There's a free ticket. Are you interested? Do you need that or what?" And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh, actually, yeah, I absolutely do." So that was my first experience with personal development. So I immediately took to the opportunity to explore deeper of what I want to create in the world, what's holding me back from creating that vision, getting to know like-minded people, and really expanding and being able to apply it throughout my life, and not just taking a class. And of course, there's a sense of there's so much intensity that can come from it. But when you do start to apply, and I mean, it's years and years of just life, journeys of life. And I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have my business at this moment in time had I not taken a risk to do work that exposes blind spots that we don't see about the things that you say you want one thing. Well, this is where your actions are not aligned with that, and course correcting, and just
Yeah.
that's another point of grace or kindness is your point A. I always have to remind myself of wherever it is that you're starting, that's just a point in your journey or a benchmark or however you want to define it. It doesn't have to mean more than just like you have a point C you'd like to get to, and this is where you start. So it's influenced my business, and it's influenced my circles, my social circles, my friends, my entire life has been shifted. And maybe this all would have happened at some point, but because I get to experience this now, there's so much power in the now, right? And so that is like, yes, you can create a business 20 years from now if you wanted to. You can go to school 30. I could go to school 30 years from now. However, the power that I have in creating that reality in the present is where I think that's what fuels people to say yes. Because,
Yeah.
and that's what fueled me to say yes. And
I love it.
so I have to, I can't move forward without acknowledging that, and I don't move forward without acknowledging how much my life could be different, or would be different, absolutely, if I hadn't said yes. So when it comes to coaching or work that I do in Women of SoCal, I always encourage people to invest in that.
Mhm.
Whatever that, and it could look like a monthly, group that you're a part of, and you start off small, or it could be a coach for your business, or it could
Yeah.
be a group that you're just a part of, that a book club. I mean, um,
Something.
yeah,
Yeah.
something.
And I think some people we wait for something big, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be big. It could be something like a book club, like you said, and what cost is that? But maybe the cost of the book, and if there's membership fees. But I know a lot of time YouTube would spent me and YouTube spent a lot of time together
Mm-hmm.
growing. And, there's a lot of good information on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to speak to the people who think about personal development as I don't need it because I
Mm-hmm.
have all this and all that. And I was one of those prior to
Mm-hmm.
my investment into, really going away and doing personal development. There are some things I did, but there are some things I felt I already knew, right? I went for
Mm-hmm.
the business side, like how to start your,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, coaching business, and I really didn't do that, but how to write a book or something like that.
Yeah.
I did stuff like that. But to have really, you touched on it, where you're getting those blind spots and what is actually hindering you from expansion.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I didn't know I needed, but I thought that I had all these skills already so I could figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
doing the personal development through Benchmark has expedited,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, expedited and surpassed in myself the things I didn't even know blocked me. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a badass. In my head, I'm a badass.
You are.
Yeah, until some of the stuff we had to do, I was like, I am not a badass.
My journey is the complete opposite. Most of the time, I don't think I'm a badass, and then I'm like, I have to step in to really move forward and to impact
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
like two peas
Well,
in the pod.
it's hilarious, but and I don't regret the tears shed in growth or the excitement about growth. Like you, I wouldn't change a thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just a big gumbo, a big stew. It doesn't take just one thing that makes you great. It's pulling from so many sources, and there's so many great sources out there. You're out there, I'm out there. We're
Mm-hmm.
sources that can help people grow. So it's awesome that coaches need help too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't just do it. You even have a rituals that you do to help you when you're feeling off course, and then you're also developing. So it's so good. And people listening, we don't just stop,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you feel like, if you're feeling the tug of growth, reach out and find something that will help you grow, and don't think you know it all.
Yep.
You may know a lot, but you do not know it all, right?
Oh, yeah. And you don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know. So, if you don't know it, how would you know you don't know it until you do something
Yeah.
different, or,
Yeah.
outside of your comfort zone?
Exactly. And getting those bumps and those gaps filled is so important. So when you do Woman of SoCal, you have events, or
Mm-hmm.
just tell me a little bit about Woman of SoCal,
Yeah.
and like event
Oh,
wise.
right.
And
Mm-hmm. So, before COVID, pre-COVID, PC, um, I was hosting quarterly events, and I'm a really big, my feminine energy is really strong, so I'm really great with the go with the flow. I have to add that disciplined masculine structure in, so I would host them every 3 months or so, and the topics would just kind of be whatever I was experiencing and needing some support with, and what I saw other people around me were also struggling with, or just wanting connection around. So I've hosted dinners where it's just mostly about connecting and having a meal, and I've also hosted more intensive where it's a panel and you get to ask questions around building your brand, um, starting your social media. But it's exploring that part of you that is, especially for the women that are working that 9 to 5, and they have that thing that they've always wanted to do, and they don't have the support that's needed
mm,
to say yes. So that's
All
what
right.
my events were about. And since COVID, I have transitioned to my events. So those are a little bit smaller, but they have been around more of life topics. So not as heavier on the business side of it, but more on, masculine and feminine energy. How does that impact your business? This,
Mm.
forgiveness. How does that impact your business? So, coming from the personal, coming from the self care and enjoying the journey that you're on. So those monthly events are happening. And I'm also planning a virtual dinner party, um, collaborating with, her name is Victoria from the Feather Mag. So we are collaborating on a real, like, it's about reflecting on the year. It's in December, and also planning for the new year. And we'll
Mm.
have some delicious soul food. We'll have a speaker to share, the founder of the Society Gal app. So just, any opportunity I have to create community, inspire people, and give them some tools. That's in a nutshell what Women of SoCal is all about.
I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to ask this because
Yes.
you dropped these two things, and so I want to know, how does the masculine and feminine energy affect business?
Oh man, it
Real,
affects.
like
Oh, we're
tell me,
going there. Okay. All
tell
right.
me.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Well, we both have. It's definitely a big topic, but we all have masculine and feminine energy. We all, and it doesn't matter your gender. It's more of how you operate in the world. So, feminine energy is, much more, if you think it, and it also is a little bit of the stereotype of what people, think women are supposed to be like, right? So the more, free flow, I'm thinking very much more expressive, much more, kind of like, oh, intuitive. Like, you feel intuitive about something, you go do that, right?
Mm.
But also, I think many of the women raised in this time, it's very masculine. We're in a 9 to 5 work or business. It's, results, goal
Yeah.
oriented results, get it done, structure. But you need the masculine container in business to allow for the feminine. So you need that structure to feel comfortable to express yourself, right? Even in
Yeah.
a relationship. So, that's the same is true
Love
for
it.
business. So, setting those deadlines for me is not my always my first priority when I'm thinking of a great event. I'm thinking like, what do I want to talk about? What do I want people to take away from it? That's all great, but then in order for it to see the results, it's like, when are you going to have those topics done? Who are you going to invite? When will you invite them? How will you invite them? How will they
Hmm.
pay for this? So just the nitty, well, for me, it's like not my favorite thing, but it's necessary. So we need both to execute well in the business world. So, is that
That's great.
clear?
Yeah, no, that's great. I was just thinking, yeah, because as female energy,
Mhm.
and we do, and you're right, it's not male or female, per se of the gender or however they identify, but it's definitely the energy,
Mhm.
that does make or break it. Because when I talk about being strategic, that's
Mhm.
actually tapping into that masculine energy. Not saying women,
Mhm.
no women are strategic, but
Mhm.
most of us are not strategic in the sense of an oversight of where we want our lives, our businesses to go.
Mhm.
So yeah, wow. And bringing that to light helps people step up and utilize that side,
Mhm.
and not, and know it's going to feel strange, but there's benefits in using the masculine energy, even in a meeting, right? I'm,
Yes.
I'm all thinking about it now. Like, you
Oh
don't
yeah.
speak up, but you got to tap into that masculine energy that gets like in the front of the room or front of
Mhm.
the Zoom,
Mhm.
and really delivers, what's don't be slow to speak up. You
Yes.
say something, get involved, and that's definitely useful. Okay, so I'm going to move
Mhm.
now. Forgiveness. How does
Mhm.
forgiveness affect business or Yeah, business.
Yeah. Well, for forgiveness, I mean, there's so many areas in life where we may not have forgiven ourselves. And,
Good.
what I think of is how may that help hold you back from really showing up fully, in your business? And
Mm,
conscious where we're not even aware, or it could be forgiving someone else and knowing that closure, that reconciliation of this is what you did, this is what I did does not happen in relationships. So
mm,
how can you let go and kind of detach yourself and know that most of the things, if none of the things that people do are personal to you, very very sometimes, yes, there is some vengeance and some revenge and things like that. However, most of the time, people are not worried about you. They're worried about themselves. And,
mm,
and so there's that aspect of how can we kind of detach from seeing people as the villains and making ourselves the victims, and in
mm.
turn, creating empowerment within our lives by that detachment and that forgiveness and that grace towards, it could be for yourself more than others. Maybe you're very forgiving towards other people but not very hard on yourself. That's more my story. But
Mm.
that for some people they could not as forgiving and just kind of hold people to certain expectations, and it's like you control out there. All we
Yeah.
have is what we are willing to accept, and there's boundaries related to that. However, however, it's almost like letting go of the weight when you
Yeah.
when you allow that forgiveness and that. And sometimes it could be a journey. It's not like, oh, I forgive you. It's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
It's I think knowing that that person at the time did the best that they could with
Mm.
what they had, and it's not easy. There's definitely folks in my life that I'm still working to forgive. um, so it's not easy at all. Know that there's a sense of relief that comes,
Yeah.
when
So
we're
good.
allowing ourselves to be the victor in the story and not allowing ourselves to either be the victim or letting another person be the the villain in the story.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Yes. Okay. Male, feminine, male energy, female energy, and forgiveness. That how it can affect your business and where we want to
Yes.
go, because we all want to prosper and level up and go and
Hmm.
expand in business. And it's good to know the gaps
Hmm.
of what could be hindering us from going to that next level. Thank you. I'm going to ask you a question, and
Okay.
I didn't warn you. I am so sorry because
It's
I
okay.
just came to me. So in 2021, and this could be
Hmm.
in business or personal if you want to share,
Hmm.
what rules are you going to break in 2021?
Oh, I like well, the one that I plan. Uh, I'm a rule breaker. I like to break
Yay!
rules. Not everybody always knows, but I might not post about it.
You don't
But
look
I'm for
like you
sure
break
a rule
rules.
breaker. Um, so I think for me, the rules that I plan to break are, um, I'm not sure exactly how to phrase it, but the power of saying no and the power of saying yes. So in whatever area that I feel compelled to a yes, you know, acknowledging and actually following through with that. But it's true. I want to break
Yay. Okay.
that things change, people change, situations change, and while there's so much power in that integrity, sometimes the integrity towards yourself needs to be honored as well.
I
And so
like
I
that.
that rule in 2021.
Ah, thank you. Awesome. That's a good one though. That I mean, many of us can listen to that, and those are the kind of questions I'm asking myself
Mm-hmm.
as a 2021 is here, basically in my head. And as business, it's here. As a personal, what is it? What do I want to do different? What rules do I want to break? Even if they're the ones like you have that are stuff that you just want to be more diligent at, and follow through. So, yay! Thank you for taking
Yes.
that off cue. And tell us how we can reach you. How can they reach out to you or Women of SoCal and get involved?
Mm-hmm. So I'm most active on Instagram. So at Women of SoCal, the best way to reach me and connected to the community. Also on Facebook under at Women of Southern California. And you could also SoCal@gmail.com.
Nice. And I will put those, ladies and gentlemen, in the episode notes as well. Thank you so much for your time, Brittany.
You're
You have
welcome.
dropped, as always, the guests. I'm so happy to have guests that continue to bring insight and revelation to the listeners. And then also, you're also giving them something that they can connect to with Women of SoCal and all that you do for the community. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you do
Thank
for
you.
the women out there. You're awesome. And
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, reach out to Brittany King-Pleas. And am I saying your last name right? Because I just hear it said. But reach out to Brittany. I can't hear you. Did I lose you? Reach out to Brittany and let her know that you are. There you go. You're back.
Oh, I'm back.
Let
I don't know what
yeah.
happened. I'm back though.
There you go. But I was just trying to say your last name right. But it's Please, right?
It's Plus.
Please.
Yes.
Brittany King-Pleas, but I like Please.
Yes.
Please. I love it. But go ahead and reach out to Brittany. She is there for you. She has great wisdom and intellect and insight. And Brittany, again, I already thanked you. But in closing, thank you. Keep going and don't give up. And thank you for being you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll be to share, to connect, talk about it,
Yeah.
So make it plain, make it real.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, listeners, and I'll see you next time.
Right.
Bye-bye.